Welcome to Skippy Lee. This is your video about verb dictionary entries, what they are, and why we need them. So we're going to start at the tip top of your notes. First of all, dictionary entries are aptly named because they're what we see when we look verbs up in the dictionary. And the reason we need them is that they give us all the information we need to make the verb into all the different tenses and forms. So, in English, you know that the word runned isn't right and you need to say ran because it sounds right to you. But in Latin, you've got to go look up how to form the past tense. And so this gives us all the information we need. Okay, so turn your notes over onto the back. The front is going to stay nice and pretty and have all the information we need, and the back is going to be our thinking spot and our practice. So I want you to go to that front part. And this is a group of dictionary entries. I just chose some randomly. And I want you just to look and see if you can find any patterns between them. Pause the video and write down the patterns you notice. All right, when you unpause, if I happen to say something that you didn't write down, go ahead and jot it down or down there. If I don't, that's okay too. So the patterns I thought you might have seen is that all of the first forms end with an O, all of the second forms end with an RE, and all of the third forms end with an I. And you might notice that we always put it as to whatever the verb means. So we say to sing instead of just singing. That's just the way we talk about them. I always think it's helpful to kind of look over and see what we notice. Just some patterns that you can see in verb dictionary entries. Okay, turn your notes back to the front. We're going to start right here. We're going to talk about, here's a sample dictionary entry. In this box, we're going to fill out how we're going to refer to the different forms of the dictionary entry. And lastly, we're going to talk about how we're going to use dictionary entries. You will notice that this box is filled in on your notes because we won't actually use this form in class. It's in there. All of them have this fourth principle part, but we don't use it in this class, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I didn't want to give you notes without putting it in there just in case. Okay, so what shall I call you? This is how we're going to refer to the different parts of the dictionary entry. So the first principal part, and you can see that I wrote 1pp, is how we're going to refer to the first form. Again, the 1pp is just our abbreviation. So first principal part, or first pp. The second one is called the second principal part, but it has another name. It's called the infinitive. Now, all of these have other forms. The first one is actually the first person singular present active indicative form, but nobody calls it that. Everyone does call, though, the second principal part the infinitive as well. So we are going to use those terms interchangeably. And then the last one is predictably called the third principal part. Okay, so we've got the top box of the names all filled out. Now we're going to talk about the uses. But we're actually going to start in the second box right here for reasons. And so don't do the first box. Don't do the third box. Just do the second box. All right, how we use the second principal part. Again, make sure you're writing in the one that says laudare on top of it. You're going to use this to find the conjugation. And I can hear you going, wait, what? What's a conjugation? We don't know that yet. And you don't, but you kind of do. Because all a conjugation is groups of verbs that change in the same way. And I say you already know this because you already have the different rule that if it's an AO, you drop the A, and if it's an EO, you keep the E. So you really already have the concept of this. I'm just calling it something right now. So make sure you write down that they're groups of verbs that change in the same way. And it's like a declension, but for verbs. So they're just groups of verbs that follow the same patterns. Okay, so now that you know what a conjugation is, again, they're just ways of sorting verbs based on the patterns that they follow. You know that if you want to know the conjugation of a word, you want to know what pattern it's going to follow, you're going to look at the second principal part, and you're going to see what the last three letters are. Now, they all end with RE, so really we're just looking at that first letter. And if it's first, it's going to have an ARE. If it's second, it's going to have an ERE with a long mark over it. If it's third, it's going to have a short E, or an E with no long mark, and it's fourth, it's going to have an IRE. And the last thing you're going to do, you're going to use this one form, is to find the present stem for first, second, and fourth conjugation, you're going to do that by dropping the RE off that infinitive for the second principal part. And again, I can hear you going, wait, what? We already know how to find the present stem. And to do that, we drop the T. You know what? That's not how you find the stem anymore, because now you're big kids, so you got to find the big kid way of doing it. So that's no longer our way. Instead, again, you're going to drop the RE off that second principal part for first, second, and fourth conjugations. Okay, on to the first principal part. So we've done this box. We're not doing this box yet. We're focusing on this first box. How to use the first principal part. Again, that's the name. Make sure you get that filled out. We're going to find the present stem just for third conjugation, though. And to do that, you just drop the O off that first form. Also note, when you look up a word, you're going to look it up alphabetically by this form, because that's how it's in the dictionary. All right, and lastly, we're going to do the third principal part. So we've done this one, and we're on to this one. So for the third principal part, or the third 3PP, you're going to use it to find the perfect stem. And again, I can hear you. Wait, what? Perfect stem? Yeah, that's okay. We're going to need this soon. Perfect is a tense we're going to learn in the next, it says few months, but probably the next month. And I just want to teach it to you now so you know how to do it when the time comes, rather than having to go back and reteach verb dictionary entries. So find the perfect stem, you just drop the I off that third principal part. Nice and easy. Okay, so we're going to move on to the bottom parts of your notes. The bottom part of your note actually has all the same information as the top part of your notes, but it's organized in a slightly different way. So there are three main uses of verb dictionary entries, and these are organized that way instead of by how you use each principal part. So first thing you're going to do is you can use them to find the conjugation. Again, you're going to look at the ending of the infinitive. So if the ending of the infinitive is an ARE, it's first. If it's a long ERE, it is second. If it is a short ERE or an E with no long mark, it's third. If it's an IRE, it's fourth. Okay, next use is to find the present stem. Again, we have two ways of doing this depending on the conjugation. For first, second, and fourth conjugation, or for verbs whose infinitive end in ARE, long ERE, or IRE, you are just going to drop the RE from the second principal part. For verbs that are in third conjugation or verbs that have that ER, short ERE, you're going to drop the O from the first principal part. And lastly, this last box is how to find the perfect stem. You're going to drop the I off the third principal part. Nice and easy. Okay, again, we already covered that. And now I'm just giving you another go, organized in a different way. Okay, let's do some practice because we learn by doing. So turn your notes back over, and I have for you the part of your notes you really need to do this at the bottom of your screen, but you can also flip back and forth depending on what's easier. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and find the infinitive of these words. Now, I won't always make you write out the infinitive, but it's really important for you to realize where the infinitive is. So you're just going to copy down cantare into the infinitive box, because that's all it is. The infinitive is just the second form in the dictionary entry. Okay, first thing we want to do then is find the conjugation. And in order to do that, we're going to look, like it says, at the last two letters or last three letters of the infinitive. And this one we see has an ARE, so that means it's first conjugation. Done. Next, we're going to find the present stem. Now, to find the present stem, we need to know that it's first conjugation. So we're looking up here. It says drop the RE off the infinitive. So we drop the RE off, and we get canta. Lastly, we have the perfect stem that we need to find. And to find the perfect stem, we drop the I off the third principal part. So there's the third principal part. We drop that I, and it's perfect. Cantab. All right, let's go down to our next. Again, we're going to start with the infinitive again, and we're just going to copy down the infinitive second principal part into the infinitive box, and we're going to get facere exactly letter by letter, because we need to know that that second principal part is the infinitive. And then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to try to find the conjugation. And again, to find conjugations, we look at the ending of that infinitive, and we see that it is an ERE, which makes it third. All right, and then the next thing is the present stem. Now, again, this is third conjugation, so it has a different rule. Okay, it's got the ERE on the end. It's got a different rule. We're going to drop the O off the first principal part. So we're looking at that first one. We're dropping that O, and we get fakes. And lastly, we've got the perfect stem we're trying to find. And this is the same for all conjugations. Okay, we drop the O off the third, or drop the I off the third principal part. So third principal part, we don't even care what conjugation it is. We drop the I, we get fakes. All right. Last one we're doing together is incipio, incipere, incipi. This one, again, copy down the infinitive, and we get incipere, because it's just letter for letter the same. Second principal part is the infinitive. And then this one, we drop, or we are looking for the conjugation. So we look at those last few letters of the infinitive, and we get ERE. So it's third. And then we want to find the present stem next. So again, this is third conjugation because that ERE. So we drop the O off the first principal part, and we get incipi. And then the perfect stem, we drop the I off the third principal part, and we get incap. All right. Go ahead and try this last set on your own. Pause the video and do that now. Okay, so here are the answers. Go ahead and check your answers. Again, we just copy down the word letter for letter and do the infinitive box because the second principal part is the infinitive. All right, and then to find the present stem, or to find the conjugation, we looked at that second principal part, and there we go. The first one ends in an IRE, so it's fourth. The second one ends in a long ERE, or an E with a mark over it, so it's second. And then the last one ends with an ARE, so it's first. So now we're looking for the present stem. So we're looking and we're following the rules in the second box that say find the present stem. So the first one we look, we've got an IRE, so we drop the RE and we get neski. The second one, second conjugations, we can drop the RE. We do and we get pare. And then lastly, we drop the RE off of putare and we just got puta. Okay, the last thing we're doing is we're finding the perfect stem. We're going to drop the I off the third principal part. So we just drop the I off all three of those forms, and we get neskiv, paru, and putav. Okay, that is all I have for you guys. Go ahead and take the quiz. Let me know how well you understood this.